friendship matters, and I don't have to push this point too much, right? If I was to say to you, do you care about friendships? I think we all go, yeah, right? Life is better when we do it together. It's just when we experience the highs, we want to be able to experience that with someone around us. When we go through the lows, we want to have that as well. And friendships form throughout all of our life. But there's one time in life where friendships seem particularly easy. And when is that? School. All right? School. For some reason, school seems to be a time when it's just like you're forced together with people of your own age and you all have to endure the same thing, and it's almost like that forges friendship. But friendship isn't just for when we're in school. As we grow up and as we go into university or into an apprenticeship or as we go into the workforce, we end up making friends as well. And the things that connect us are all sorts of things that can connect us to be friends with one another. So I've got here a box. And the big thing is, what's in the box? What's in the box? My kids even came in and they were having a look and they're like, that's boring. And I'm like, well, all right, now you can see what's in the box. Friendships get formed over a myriad of things. For some of us, it's around an interest or a hobby. For some of us, like, we connect with people who are artistic, like we are, who enjoy arts and crafts. For some of us, it's because we enjoy making things. Maybe you have connected with someone because you make candles or hobbies and you make something and sell them somewhere, or who knows what you do. For some of you, you connect because of sport or competition. If you don't know what this is an Xbox controller. Sorry, let me just clarify. This is for esports and also just for general gaming and fun. Or maybe you enjoy sports and connect with people and winning is the motivator. Yeah, this is one of the trophies from 2023 Tennis Mail overall winner for Sportsfest. So good job, whoever that was. Or perhaps you connect over, who was it? Not Will, okay. Sorry. If it was Will, that would have been a great burn, sorry. Was it Dan? Dan and Arno. It was Dan and Arno, okay. They down the Sportsfest this weekend? No. Not you, them. Mate, we were looking for these, not, sorry. joking. Yeah. So sport, some of you guys, it's knowledge, like who likes a good book? And you connect with other people who enjoy a good book or learning something. And isn't it great when you connect with someone who likes to read as well, and you can just have a chance where you just sit down and you just read and you don't have to worry about anything. You can just be in your own little world. Or for some of you, as I said before, it could be around studies and a whole bunch of things. So friendships, they just get formed, and they get formed in all sorts of environments. And they matter. They don't just matter to us so that we can enjoy the life that we're on. They also matter to God as well. And what I want to do is I want to show you a video. Has anyone seen TED Ed videos before? Educational videos. We're going to watch one now that talks about friendship and how our brains sort of develop in that space. So would you turn your eyes to the screen? We're going to watch this and then unpack what God has to say about friendship.
Friendships can hold an exceptional place in our life stories. What is it about these connections that make them so unique? Before we dive into the science, let's first observe one in action.
If I could somehow design a best friend, put together all the ideal qualities of my perfect match, that person would pale in comparison to Priya. She can turn any situation into a good time. Chemistry lab, band practice. What I'm trying to say is, I never laugh harder than when I'm with Priya. And she's always there for me. Like last year after I got dumped by Tit. You know what? I don't even want to mention their name. It felt like my whole world was crashing down. But as soon as I told Priya, boom, she was at my door. I was a wreck, but she sat there with me and listened. We're always on the same page. It's as if we can read each other's minds. And we can talk for hours about anything. I know my mom would say she has the phone bills to prove it.
If it seems like friendships formed in adolescence are particularly special, that's because they are. Early childhood, adolescent, and adult friendships all manifest a little differently, in part because the brain works in different ways at those stages of life. Adolescence is a unique time when peer relationships take focus, and thanks to the developing brain, there are changes in the way you value, understand, and connect to friends. Teenage friends can seem attached at the hip. Scientists describe adolescence as a social reorientation, as teenagers begin to spend as much or more time with their friends than with their parents. This drive to hang with pals may be due to changes in the brain's reward center, known as the ventral striatum. Its activation makes hanging out with others enjoyable and motivates you to spend more time with them. Neuroimaging studies show that this region is highly reactive during your teenage years, which may explain why adolescents seem to place a higher value on social interactions than children or adults. Teenage friendships can also feel more intimate than the friendships of your childhood. This deeper connection is possible thanks to improvements in what scientists call theory of mind. Theory of mind is the ability to understand others' emotions, thoughts, motivations, and points of view, and to realize that they may be different from your own. While it may seem intuitive, this ability hinges on the careful coordination of various brain regions, sometimes referred to as the social brain. Babies begin to develop theory of mind around 18 months or so. Before that, it's thought they believe that everyone perceives and knows exactly what they know. It was once considered to be fully developed by age 5, but scientists now know that theory of mind continues to improve and mature well into your teenage years and beyond. Likewise, regions within the social brain show increased connectivity during adolescence compared with childhood. As a result, teens can better understand their friends' perspectives, allowing for deeper connections to flourish. In the closest friendships, it can almost feel as if you're metaphysically connected, two bodies and minds perfectly in sync. And there is science to this. Your ability to connect with others somewhat depends on the coordination of actions, emotions, physiology, and thoughts. This is what psychologists call interpersonal synchrony. You first show signs of the ability to sync with others as infants, synchronizing movements and babbling with your parents. As you get older and spend more time outside the home, you increasingly show this synchrony with your peers. For example, imagine walking down the street with a friend. Often without consciously thinking, you stroll at the same pace and follow the same path. You and your best friend may not be only on the same page, but also, scientifically, in step.
That's amazing, isn't it? Now, depending on how you connect things, when I hear stuff like that as we discover how the brain works, how we've been put together, I am just like, wow. Like, that blows my mind. The fact that God put all that together, and as we discover things, one of the things we discover and how our brains develop is that friendship is such a core part of who we are, and it matters in our life. But I'm not surprised that that matters, because we've all experienced it growing up. It's something intuitively that we know, that friends matter, being connected matters. And we find that God really puts a high value on friendship as well. In the beginning of the book of Genesis, when it talks about God creating humanity, this verse stands out to me. It's Genesis 2, verse 18. It'll be up there on the slides. So the story is, if you haven't read it before, is basically God is there and decides to put together the earth, builds the earth, fills it up, and then eventually creates a man and tells the man, all right, your job now is to go and name all the animals. You've got a job to do. And then this verse comes up in 2, verse 18. So everything's been created, and the little guy's there. Call him Adam. And this is what Genesis 2:18 says. It says, the Lord God said, the one who is in charge of it all, the one creating everything, said this: it is not good for the man to be alone. It's not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. And the reason that this is interesting is that for some reason, in the beginning of our Bible, when God put everything together, he noted that when Adam was alone, that was not ideal. Now, think about it. God could have filled Adam's life fully and said, I am enough and everything that you need. But he looked at it and said, it's not good for the man to be alone. There is a human-shaped hole in every human heart that needs to be filled by other people. And God said, not that he can't fill it, he just goes, I'm not going to fill it. I'm going to give you community and give you people to relate with. And this theme of friendship goes not only in Genesis, but it actually goes throughout the entire Old Testament as well. So Genesis is the first book of the Old Testament, which captures the Hebrew people and God interacting with humanity and creating and getting into relationship with them. And here's some famous people that we get to see that friendship is a theme within the Bible. So Abraham is actually called a friend of God. He's called God's friend. Moses was someone who got to speak face to face with God. Noah was described as one who walked with God. Hagar met God in the desert. Jacob got to wrestle God. And Hannah and Rachel had their prayers answered by God. So the God who's displayed in the writings of the Hebrew people is one who is in charge of everything, but is also one who wants community and relationship and friendship with his people. This relationship between God and his people is often portrayed as a covenant, as an agreement between two parties. It's an agreement that says God has both divine authority, but also seeks out intimate friendship. And it continues from the Old Testament into the New Testament. So in the Old Testament, God interacted with humanity and sought out friendship again and again and again and again. And then when we transition into the New Testament, the new agreement God has through Jesus with the whole world, this theme of friendship continues because Jesus, when he was alive 2,000 years ago, what did he do? He found 12 friends to walk alongside each and every day. Jesus traveled for 3 years with the same 12 guys close to him. These were people that he laughed with, that he cried with, that he ate food with, that he just shot the breeze with, that he wondered about the big questions of life with, and people where he got to stay with them. Jesus was a close friend to everyone who he came into contact with, but he was showing friendship to those 12 in particular. So when you and I have opportunities to experience friendship in all of its goodness, it's almost like that's what we were created for, relationship. The way that God shows us friendship is through the people that we get to be friends with. So it's central to both the story of the Bible, to how our brains develop, to how we experience life, and how Jesus chose to live. So this thing of friendship is huge. So here's 3 lessons that we can draw from friendship that I want to get into that is hopefully helpful. They're up there on the screen. Friendship is all about proximity, right? It's just about hanging out. It's about being close with. When I was growing up, one of my best friends, we would go to school and would hang out together and get up to mischief together and blah, blah, blah. And then at night time, I would actually phone him on a landline and I would chat to him. At night, did anyone else have one of those friendships? Like you'd be there and then you'd go home and then you'd keep talking. And we had schemes, man. We were going to conquer the world. We were going to create a business. We were going to do this, that, and the other. But what I learned through that friendship is that it's just about being close and spending time and experiencing things and sharing and everything. Now, that friendship hasn't lasted through till today, but I've experienced along the road other friendships where at the end of the day, it comes down to proximity. When God got close in the Old Testament with his people, one of the ways he did that was to be close with them through the Ark of the Covenant. So there's a story of God and the people of Israel, and they had to carry around basically the presence of God to remind them that as they move around, he is with them. Then when Jesus came to earth as a human, he was walking around and he was close with them. So this idea of proximity and friendship go hand in hand with the story of the Bible to the story of how we live our lives. It's hard to be friends with someone that we don't get to share proximity with, that we don't get to be around. And it's doable with letters and the internet and things that back in the day you couldn't do as well. Zoom has opened up a range of ways to expand your friendship. But it's got to be built around proximity. So 3 lessons around friendship and proximity I think are important about. First thing is this: proximity always beats intention. Have you ever had that friend? We should catch up. We should catch up. We should catch up. We should catch up. And you're going and hanging out with them, or you bump into each other and they're like, we've got to catch up. And you go, okay, text me, call me. And they don't. And you know you won't. And the intention can be there, but unless it actually happens, it doesn't happen, does it? You know. And it's not just in friend to friend that this happens. It also happens between parents and children. The intention of wanting to be there, the intention of wanting to hang out, the intention of wanting to do the best gets beaten out by actually being there. It's all good and well to want to hang out with your children, but if you're never physically with your children, the intentionality doesn't matter. That whole I wanted to will always be beaten by just being present, by putting 2 feet into their space and being present with them. Because that's what God did for us. It's what we get to do for others. So proximity will always beat intention. Doesn't matter how good you want it to be. It's what actually happens that matters. The second thing that we learn from friendship is that proximity develops deep trust. Proximity develops deep trust. It is difficult to develop trust at a distance. Has anyone ever seen a politician on TV or on your mobile or on your screen, and you see them and they say something and you resonate with it and you're like, I care about that issue, and the politician says, if you vote for me, this issue will be solved. Because, politics, the bad guys are going to be overcome by the good guys. Who's the good guys? Me, vote for me. Anyway, so politicians, they say stuff and you vibe and you go, yes, 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 yes. And you start to build a little bit of trust in them. Then they get voted in, and what happens? Maybe they do it, maybe they don't. Who knows? Depends on the issue, depends what it is. And that's not a hit at politicians. They do a great job doing what they need to do. But the reality is that when you develop trust with someone who's distant, you can develop a bit of trust. But when they do something that then is wrong or bad or goes against what you think they should do, how quickly and easy is it to just turn on them? They don't know what they're talking about. That's not right. We all trust famous people or politicians until they fall. And when they fall, you don't bother to go back and pick up the pieces and try to rebuild trust because you didn't really know them. But once that trust is broken, it's difficult to rebuild. So proximity develops deep trust to the point that when you have friends and families members that do stupid things or do things that are not good, or when you're the person that does the stupid thing, when you develop deep trust, you're willing to go back and pick up the pieces to try to restore the relationship. I was watching a documentary last night about a person in America who they said they were kidnapped. They faked the whole thing, and then the truth came out, and everyone just turned on them, right? Because when they were initially thought to have been kidnapped, everyone was like, loves and prayers, money, look after them, come on, find this person. And then when they emerged again and said, it was just fake, it wasn't what actually happened, everyone just turned on them like that. Everyone just turned on them. Because that's what happens. When you have no proximity and you develop a level of trust and that trust gets broken, you cannot restore that because you don't really truly know them. But it's up to the people who are closest to them. It's up to the people who are closest to us, who we build deep, lasting trust with, to look at how to restore that and bring that back together. One of the things as people who follow Jesus, if that's who you are, you're a Christian, you're a Jesus follower, one of the things that Jesus tells us about is forgiveness. And forgiveness at its core is all about redeveloping trust that's been broken and about mending things. And Jesus says, how many times should you forgive? You should always forgive. And there's a whole bunch of stuff there. But proximity develops deep trust, and we go back and help people and work towards restoration. But we can only do that if we're close to them. And then finally, proximity leads to life change. Proximity leads to life change. People choose to live different when they are exposed to examples of preferred behaviour. In the book, The Other Half of Church by Jim Wilder and Michael Hendricks, they talk about this idea of social learning. And they talk about the fact that in churches, typically, so if you've been around church for a while, you sort of get this. If you haven't, it's just something that has tended to happen over recent trends of the church. There's a big focus when it comes to becoming like Jesus, discipleship and growing, and it tends towards one half of your brain, which is logic, learning and discipline. And in their book, they say that's good and things that should be done. But what actually gets people to change their behavior is when they are surrounded by people where they can see a preferred outcome. So one of the examples that they use in the book is they talk about this idea that to know how someone who followed Jesus should use their money, people who want to become more like Jesus need to see other people who follow Jesus use their money. It's all good. You can read about it, you can study it, you can pray about it, but until you actually are surrounded by people who love Jesus and use their finances and they can see an example of it, it's actually difficult to change your own behavior. So when proximity is involved and when friendship is involved, we actually get to learn from one another. And that learning and that watching actually helps lead to life change because we can see a new way of living. And I'm sure if I scratch beneath the surface of your story, you've experienced that. You hung out with that one friend, or you had that family member who, when you saw how they lived, it inspired you to want to do different. And then you went and you lived differently. And it helped you change the way that you live. So 3 lessons from friendship. Proximity will always beat intention. Don't say the words, just put your feet in their space. Proximity develops deep trust, the sort of trust that can rebuild relationship when things go wrong, because friendships end either because A, something went wrong and you split, right? Or B, you just drifted into different parts of the world and you didn't get to reconnect. Developing deep trust means that you can end a friendship well. That as you go into different parts of the world and things get disconnected, you're at least in line with each other because you haven't let it come over something which is broken trust. And then proximity leads to life change. So those are 3 lessons from friendship. And how do we then apply it here at LBC? Friendship requires community. Now, if you go to the next slide for me, thanks, Caleb. There are 3 steps towards community to hopefully experience friendship here at Lesmurdy Baptist Church. The first one is regularly attend. That could be Sunday, a midweek program, whatever it is. When you regularly attend, you actually get to build up relationships with other people. That's the only way that you can build friendship. You need proximity. So if you come in once every 2 months and walk away and go, no one's friends with me. Yeah, it's hard to be friends when we don't hang out together. So when we finish our service, it may not appear this way to you, especially being in church for a while. The most important part of our morning, probably in my opinion, is when we finish our service and we get to go and have tea and coffee. Because we get to connect with each other, we get to chat to each other, we get to be friends with each other. So 3 steps towards community is regularly be in the space where people are. Another way that you can step towards community is when you get to serve in an area. One of the most common things when we talk about serving is it's about building relationships with people. And one of the big feedbacks that come back is, hey, once I started serving, recently someone said, when I started serving in the kitchen, I got to know some people and it was really fun because they found something to do. And for some of you, you know this, like you're doers. Like you don't want to sit there and talk to each other and have coffee. You want to sit, scrub and chat. You know what I mean? Like you get that? Like some of you guys, you can go to a coffee shop, sit opposite each other for 2 hours and you're happy. And for some of you, like that is torture. Let's do something together. Serving is a great way to do something together and connect and get to connect with them. So serving isn't just about ensuring things happen, it's also about building relationships and friendships with each other. And in fact, it's the people you serve alongside that you form some of your strongest bonds with because you're doing something, you're on mission together. And then finally, you can join a group. We have life groups, we have short-term groups that appear every now and then, for example, like Alpha, stuff like that. And there's also a couple of interest groups. The blokes meet on Thursdays down at Serenian House down there. Some of the parents get together during the week at different times. So, you know, there's opportunities to connect with each other. But friendship requires proximity. Proximity requires the chance to be around each other, to have 2 feet in the same space as one another. I just want to finish off with this story. On Wednesday, we have a thing called Feed It Forward. We put some food at the front of the church and we just say, if anyone needs some food, here it is. We go down to Woolies, we get it, put it out there, and whatever's there is there. I was standing there talking to Claire, our admin manager, and we're chatting about Feed It Forward, and this lady comes up and she's come to have a chat, and I'm thinking to myself, this is great. Someone from the community is coming to get some food. That's awesome. And she came up and she said, do you guys do a program for seniors? And I went, yes, we do. A little bit sad it wasn't for Feed It Forward, but very happy that you're asking about Midweek Escape. That's awesome. So I asked and I said, yes, we do run a program for seniors. And she said, that's great. I was on a walk with someone. I was just walking around and I met someone. And he said, why don't you come to our church on a Wednesday? Because we have a seniors program that you might be able to connect with. She was sharing, she was saying she's been lonely, she's recently lost someone. And this person said, come to LBC on a Wednesday, who knows, you might be able to meet someone there. And then she rocked up on a Wednesday and she came in and had a chat. Now look, some of you who were there at Midweek Escape, there's a couple of you guys that you met her and you got to hang out. But it was just great that this person who had no connection to our church just happened to have a chat to someone and was invited to come along and at least have a chance for there to be an opportunity for friendship. I cannot guarantee. You know that thing where it's like, results cannot be guaranteed. You get on the commercials? I cannot guarantee that if you come to a Sunday, you will have a friend. I cannot guarantee that if you come to one of our midweek programs, you will get a friend. I cannot guarantee friendship will be the definite end result, but I can guarantee something. If you don't rock up, there's no chance of a friendship being formed. That's just the reality. So I don't know what her journey is going to do. Maybe she'll come back and she really liked it. I don't know. But what I do know is that just being here and being open and being available for friendship, there is an opportunity for friendship to occur. And for some of you that have been around our church for a while, maybe that's what brought you to here in the first place. You rocked up, you came back a second time and someone remembered your name. Or you came back a second time and you got chatting and you got to connect with someone. I don't know what your story is, but friendship generally is what matters. People will stay where they are connected. And while I cannot guarantee that you will definitely get a friend 100%, what I can guarantee is that we can at least have a chance, a shot, an opportunity for something to happen in that space. And through friendship, my prayer is that you discover that Jesus loves you, he is for you, and that he wants something for your life. So let's be a church that is open to friendship. And let's be welcoming to all those who come through our doors. Because I believe our world would be better, there would be less isolation, there'd be way more joy if every person who came through our doors had an opportunity to experience friendship. Let me pray. Father God, you expressed friendship from the beginning. When you put man on earth and said it's not good that we're alone, that theme has continued forever. It is not good when we are alone, when we are isolated. We need people around us. We need to be in proximity with others. Right now, I pray for those who are feeling lonely, who are feeling isolated, who are feeling vulnerable. May there be an opportunity here on a Sunday or through the week, or may there be an opportunity in a community program run within the city of Kalamunda, or may there be an opportunity for someone who's in their social circles to reach out and reforge, recreate, reconnect on the friendship level. And maybe for some of us, God, may we be awakened to the fact that we need to reach out to reestablish and reconnect in some relationships as well. You speak through the language of love and friendship. And we want to be a place where that is the love, that is the language that we speak as well. In your name and for your glory. Amen. Amen.